We begin episode 5 with April returning in the morning at around 5:30 a.m. She says that she got out of the car and she saw that every single light in the house was on. So she gets concerned because at 5:30 a.m. to have the whole house, the lights on, she goes in concerned thinking what has happened. And she notices that her mother is sitting outside Shane's bedroom. The mattress has been dragged outside of the room and Shane is sleeping on the mattress right next to her mother, and her mother is looking very concerned, and she's sitting near her grandson taking care of him. She tells April about the experience that she had, and she tells them that she's not going to leave the grandchildren alone at home, and she takes both Nate and Shane with her to live until they sort out the whole house situation. At this point, because she's living without her children, April decides that she should try and do something to cleanse the house. So she goes back to her Book of Mormon and she picks out prayer from that, and she learns from Google search that you can sage your house to cleanse the house. So then we have this funny shot of him sort of using, we have this funny shot of Matt using the blower to sage the whole house. So he's there, he says, like, I'm like a Ghostbuster out there, using the blower to sage the whole house. So after that, the atmosphere in the house starts to feel lighter. And so they assume that the problem is solved. And then they tell her mother to come and drop the kids back at home. So the grandmother comes and she does drop her grandchildren at the doorstep, but she refuses to go inside. And she's like, are you sure that it's safe for the children to be here? And April convinces her, saying that, yeah, I've done everything. I've prayed using our Book of Mormon, and I have saged the house. And now the house feels brighter and lighter and everything, and we haven't had any incidents. After this, in a few days, Matt is in the basement when he feels that someone is stepping on his chest. He finds himself on the floor and someone's stepping on his chest, and he feels immense pleasure, and a male voice says, quit messing with it, boy. At this point, he can smell cigar smell and leather. This incident really shakes Matt. He decides that he has to find out about the history of the house. So he goes to the house of the neighbor who checked on him at that night when he came running out of the house. So he goes to him and he asks him what happened. So that neighbor says that he feels great sympathy and he feels sorry to see him in the state because he has seen the previous owner, David, also go through the same kind of experience. When he moved into the house, his life was ahead of him. He was married and he was excited to live in that house. But the moment he moved into the house, his whole life went down the drain. His marriage broke up. His wife left him and he committed suicide. And it was him who had written that graffiti on the wall. The graffiti said, "This house murdered me." A few days after that, they're sleeping and there's a small voice that comes and wakes up April. There's a voice that April hears. It says, "Mommy, mommy, he's coming." So then April gets scared and she wakes up Matt, and they both encounter the tall man in the hat. They all get really scared. They run out of the house. They don't even lock the house. They grab the kids, they get into the car, and they are out on the roads and they drive to a motel to live. So for the next few months, they're living at a motel. This couple hears about Jeremy and Bill Spencer, who are paranormal investigators, to come and check out their house. They invite them to stay over for a couple of days and do a full investigation. So on 14th October, they move into the house, and he says that over multiple months, they stayed in that house for about 15 to 20 days. And in that time, nothing much happened. There was no physical activity that happened, but they did catch voice recordings. A recording that was sent to Matt in April by Jeremy and Bill said, "Hey, mommy," and it is the same voice that had woken up April multiple times. So now it is confirmed that it's not something that April is imagining or that any of them is seeing on their own. Additionally, they also grab evidence of one of the windows in the house opening and closing on its own. They in fact show us that real footage that was captured by Bill and Jeremy. So after this, April is wondering how to deal with this because they can't keep living in the motel. At some point, they have to move out of it because it was not a safe neighborhood also, like as a family to keep living in a motel room. In April 2006, she gets in touch with this clairvoyant called Debbie. So Debbie comes to the house, she does an investigation. When Debbie is investigating the house, she comes across the name William. She doesn't hear anything about David. She had come searching for David because that's all they knew about. So when she got the name of William, they did some research. April went and she looked at the land records of the previous owners. So then they find out there was this man called William that lived there, and his wife Ruth had killed herself in the bathtub, where April had heard these strange voices and noises. So the story goes that his wife killed herself because she was being abused by her husband, and the husband was not only abusing her but also his 4 kids. So there is a practice among the Mormons that at the age of 8 you have to confess your sins in front of a priest before you can get baptized. The father did not want his secret of abuse to be revealed to his society. So before the children reached the age of 8, he decided to kill them. So he killed that one boy who would keep appearing, Benjamin. At the age of 8, he threw him into the furnace and set him on fire. And he killed that child because at the age of 8, he would have to get baptized and he would confess. And he wanted to do the same thing to the other kids as well. So I think this is the point at which Ruth killed herself. So because of this negative experience that the house had, these energies were trapped there, and they were the ones that were causing all this negativity. So then Debbie does a prayer and she pushes William out of the house, and she releases the other spirits who are caught there to go towards the light so that this house can be cleansed. And after that, this house is cleansed. So after this, Matt and April make sure that this house is ready for sale. They make sure that there's no other negative incident there. After it has been fully cleansed and properly ready for next family to come in, they sell the house and they get out. We find out that they were so traumatized by this experience, they have not been able to live in any other house for a long time with any history of people having lived there before. So unless it's in a brand new house, they can't really live there. So they have adopted a very nomadic lifestyle. Ever since the incident happened, they've moved 8 times because they just couldn't bring themselves to live in the same place for too long.